Hey everyone, welcome to the Impact Factor. Nothing better than talking video games. Thanks for joining us, and I hope you're playing something great as you listen in. Maybe a little bit of Hearthstone, maybe a little bit of something else. Whatever you're playing, whatever you're doing, thanks for tuning in. The Impact Factor is what happens when two scientists and two best friends get together to talk about video games. My name is Alex Samocha, and I'm joined this week, as I am every week here on the Impact Factor, by the guy who also just discovered he has a sprint button after all this time, my co-host, Charles Fliss.
Just imagine, I might have made the varsity baseball team if I'd known that I had a sprint button.
No, you've been just kind of strolling through life, taking in the sights and smells of the world, never much more than a brisk 1-2 step.
Indeed, my friend, indeed. And actually, I didn't have any problem with not being able to sprint through the rapture, because when I get raptured, I prefer to take my time.
You prefer to take your time. Yeah, I mean, everyone was giving me bad reviews about you, or really that was the sticking point, that you were just walking around, but now you can run. It's a whole new world, man.
It's a whole new world indeed. Is that the first Disney reference we've had on the show?
Oh, God. Hopefully the last.
Hey, you're the one who made it.
I was just saying a whole new world. It doesn't have to be that.
Anytime you say a whole new world, it's a Disney reference.
Oh, God. I guess anyone of our age will instantly go there. Oh, man. How you doing, man? How you doing today?
Well, I'm pretty tired. I got up at 4 a.m. this morning to catch a bullet train from Tokyo back to my prefecture so I could be at work on time. But I'm going to pump it up because I'm excited to talk some video games. I've been playing some really weird stuff over the past couple weeks, so some good things
I know
to
the
talk
folks
about.
are interested in some weird stuff and work. What kind of summer break is this, man?
Well, the new ALTs, that is to say language teachers, just arrived here in the prefecture, and so we're doing orientation to try and help everybody get adjusted to living in Japan. So it's cool. It's a lot of information. And I'm helping with that.
Yeah. Because I don't know if you ever told the folks here, but you're doing English teaching exchange. You've mentioned it briefly, but never specifically the program. But this is part of an organized program where, people from around the world come to Japan to teach English classes in elementary, middle, high school, or whatever they're called over there, for a couple of years.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm actually on the JET program, which is an agreement between the Japanese government and governments around the world that sees different people come to Japan to teach. I actually now have moved from teaching junior high school and elementary school to teaching only elementary school, which is really exciting for me. But I'm trying to help some Japanese kids learn English, and it's a lot of fun.
He has no one there to say whether or not he's any good at it. But
and since there's no one here to speak to the contrary, I think I can make the claim that I am not terrible at my job.
Another bold claim. Like the claim where you said you were more handsome than I was, the claim where you said you were taller than your brother. This is just adding to a growing list of stuff.
But one of those is totally true. For the record, I'm shorter than my brother.
yeah, exactly.
Don't let him listen to this episode. Oh God.
Yeah, I think the issue is that he listens to every episode. It was great having him on last time, but
it was so
we're
much fun.
here. Yeah, we're here again. Just the two of us. We got a lot to talk about. But before that, the Impact Factor is where I bring my perspectives as a biomedical scientist and combine them with, and usually against, Fliss's social scientist worldview to have great discussions about video games. We're still reeling in the wake of Gamescom news, and got a bunch of other stuff that popped up this last week. This has been a busy summer, man. This has been one of the busiest summers.
Slow season.
Yeah.
Not really.
I don't think
this
so.
slow season had a hidden sprint button.
Yeah, this slow season had a hidden sprint button for sure. Anyway, let's get it started right away with some news and views.
News and views.
In an academic journal, News and Views collects the best of recent events and findings. Here, Fliss and I scour through the week in video game news to find the stories with the biggest impact. So Fliss, as always, what do you think was a story that was most impactful from this past week?
Well, actually, I totally agree with you about the most impactful story. Before every episode, Alex sends me his recommendations for the most impactful story, and usually I just wantonly ignore them. But this week, I'm in total agreement, and that's all this news about Battleborne. What is it, Alex?
Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah. So, Battleborne is something that has kind of been one of those snowballs that's been slowly rolling down the mountain and has really gained momentum the more and more I've seen about it. So Battleborne is this new hero shooter from Gearbox Studios. So these are the guys who made Borderlands. And they had a pretty big presence at E3, but they came out guns blazing again, I guess, pardon the pun.
No, that was good.
At Gamescom.
That was good. Don't ask for it, dude. That was good.
I know. Okay. I'll take it. I'll take the adoration of my fans. Got a release date from Gamescom. So this is one of many hero shooters that have been kind of sprung up from the weedwork as of recently, and certainly inspired by the rising and ever-growing popularity of MOBAs and hero brawlers, like we've seen from things like League of Legends and Dota and even Heroes of the Storm. So Battleborne, it's a game in which the game is set at the end of the universe. Every star in the universe has gone out except for one. Just due to entropy, that energy is lost. You have the theory of entropy where energy is energy cannot be created or destroyed, but energy can be transformed into non-usable forms. And so that's what's happened. And it's down to one star with one, accompanying solar system around it. And so the remnants of all of the universe's different factions and species has come to contest this star. Some forces, I guess, are ostensibly evil because they want to destroy the last star because they think darkness and dark matter is the future. Some people want to protect the light. Other people have different goals. Some people want to detect it, but they're a militarized thing. And so it's a cool premise to get a bunch of different crazy, completely disparate characters together fighting certain things. So does the premise grab you at all, Fliss? Just on a kind of basic level there?
I mean, I think the end of everything, if that doesn't grab you, nothing will. It's a cool idea. It's something that has the potential to be kind of played out, to be overdone, but I think that if anyone can pull off such a kind of over-the-top premise, like, it's the end of the world. At the last star, the factions gather to fight for the light or for the darkness. If anyone can pull that off, it's Gearbox. And I think they can do that with their classic humor and with their amazing sense of style. And just looking at what they've shown us from what they've developed in this game and listening to them talk about the amount of work that they're putting into developing for each of the characters, each of the heroes, I should say, for this game, it looks like a ton of fun.
Yeah, so there's a ton going on. Like I said, there's going to be 25 playable characters at launch. The exact composition of this game isn't known, but certainly you and co-op up to 4 other people can play through these large open maps, and you have like waves of enemies, something like, it's a first-person shooter, I guess we should say that. I don't know if hero shooter, but it's a first-person shooter. And you fight against waves of enemies. There's a robust story mode, but there's, for the first time ever, and at least in a Gearbox game, there's a fully implemented competitive mode. So, something like we've seen maybe with Overwatch, which is another hero shooter that had got some news coming out of Gamescom. And so it's kind of packed with content, but they're really emphasizing story mode here and this cooperative nature of that. They talked a lot of details at Gamescom. For instance, each kind of story mission you do, your character starts off at level 1, but by the time you reach the end of the mission, they can reach their maximum level and you can have all their talents unlocked. So again, that's something similar from a MOBA. At each match you play, you re-level up your character. You can do different builds. The characters are highly diverse. They've got a ton of different skills. And one of the things that really grabbed me about Randy Pitchford, he's the CEO of Gearbox, he was talking about it at Gamescom, was his design philosophy. And I know he gets a lot of flack for like Duke Nukem Forever and Aliens Colonial Marines, but I think the guy has really interesting ideas and really cool things to say about games. So I know I'm a little bit long-winded here, but when he was talking about Borderlands, which is a game Justine and I love, we've played all 3, we've played Borderlands 2 and Borderlands a pre-sequel together. I've played all 3. Their design and philosophy behind that was that, oh man, guns from all these different games are so cool. Let's have all sorts of different games from all sorts of different first-person shooters and put them all in one game. You like that overpowered pistol from Halo 1? You can find that in Borderlands. You like the crazy shotgun from Doom? You can find that kind of shotgun in Borderlands. And then that times, millions, because there's so many different gun combinations you can get Borderlands. But for Battleborne, the design philosophy here was, instead of doing how different guns feel, we want to have each of these characters represent something different about how first-person shooters design their shooting systems. And so, these are different interpretations of first-person shooter. So, for instance, some characters may move fast and be close and aggressive like a shotgun, like the Doom character. Or another character has a gun in one hand and can do magic effects out of her other hand, which is something like we saw with Bioshock, where you've got a gun and something like that. Or just a traditional military shooter, where he's got like the first you can aim down the sights and has grenades. Or what about something like a Team Fortress, where this guy can jump around and fly around the map, or can disguise themselves? And so they're combining, their philosophy here is combining the different kinds of first-person shooter styles into their characters. And I think that's a really smart way to design these characters to keep them different from each other.
Yeah, man. Well, you've given us a lot to chew on here. I think I'll start with what you finished with here when we talk about the different styles of guns and different styles of shooters, right? So absolutely, the Borderlands design philosophy, totally cool. I am excited, but I think I'm more skeptical than you are about the Battleborne philosophy, because I think that balancing that is going to be really hard. If they find a way to do that, I'll be really impressed. I'll be all over it. I would love to see people from all kinds of different first-person shooting camps getting together to play this game, but I just have a hard time imagining, like, how are you going to balance somebody who can aim down sights with somebody who can fly, or with somebody who can snipe, or with, any of these other styles with a shotgun character, right? Like, are there going to be characters that are just, like, so overpowered? Because otherwise, this immediately jumps out to me as something that would be great for esports.
Yeah, I mean, there's that whole esports discussion. I think your concerns are valid, but in my perspective, they're ameliorated a bit, because I, first and foremost, want a game that I can play like this. I can play cooperatively with Justine. And Gearbox is really all about cooperation. And so not only is there a robust online co-op, but whereas many people have moved away from it, they're still implementing split-screen co-op as well. And so they have split-screen co-op for the campaign. So that is the number one reason I'm getting this. I think, unless the reviews are absolutely horrid or there's some sort of game-breaking launch issues, I plan on getting this day one, because it's something I could play with Justine, sitting together on the same couch, or as we usually do, on the same floor closer to the TV so we can see better, because the split screen makes stuff really small. We can play together.
I think you just need a bigger TV. I think that's the solution here.
It's in the works.
Oh, all right. Big tease from the San Francisco side.
And then I think also this is an issue all, hero-based games have. Fighting games are perpetually rebalancing their characters because there's design, space that makes one character better than the other. And, all MOBAs and hero brawlers are constantly tweaking characters to try and bring them all within a relative power balance of each other. A game that we love to play, Here's the Storm, is having another balance update, which is only a couple weeks after the previous balance update, to try and bring everyone up in line. And so I think, undoubtedly, when the game launches, some characters are going to be better than others. But then I think, as long as they're prepared for that, they can tweak and make it so at least you have a large percentage of the characters are viable, at least in sort of in their competitive mode.
Yeah, and I think what balances a lot of these games out is the way the characters combine, and the kind of cooperation where a kind of a coordinated team with bad characters will always beat an uncoordinated team that has good characters. And if they can achieve that, if they can bring that to life in this game, if they can do things that are not just deathmatch but are objective-based missions that kind of make characters that may seem underpowered kind of better, in the same way that we see that in MOBAs, Heroes of the Storm, stuff like that, then I'll be excited about it. But I'm going to definitely want to read about it. If you're playing it day one, I look forward to your review about it before I invest, because certainly it'd be fun to play this kind of game together. And I am absolutely always about more couch co-op games. I love couch co-op.
Hey man, if I like this game at all, you're buying it. You've got a PS4 now. That was big news for last podcast. You have a PS4, and so
she's beautiful.
Justine and I could split screen co-op with you online in our party. So I'm saying, if I have to buy freaking Star Wars Battlefront,
and you do, you have to buy it. You have to buy it. That's not even a discussion.
As long as this game isn't completely terrible, which I really don't think it will be, you're gonna have to get Battleborne so we can play it together.
All right, I can live with those terms.
We're going to have these trade-offs to make each other buy these games. And then, so just to finish this up quickly, the last piece of big news out of this was they announced a release date. There had been talk, I think never official talk, that maybe it might come out at the end of this year. But I think, among other things, games taking longer these days, being announced earlier and being delayed, and then also this fall, I don't know any game that would want to go against Fallout 4 in the fall, especially games that involve shooting, I guess, other than Call of Duty. The game comes out in February 9th of 2016, so I'm excited. I've got it marked in my calendar. We're going to keep a very close eye on Battleborne.
Yeah, man. Good things to come. Well, hey, we talked about MOBAs a little bit, and last week we got to really dive deep and talk about MOBAs, and especially talk about Dota, because, man, the International, what a finish. What a great end of the tournament. I'm so glad, so glad that we went on record last week. All three of us, you, me, Thomas, we all went on record saying that we were rooting for Evil Geniuses because, spoilers ahead.
Yeah, everyone hasn't seen it, whatever. You can't blame us at this point.
Yep. It's been long enough. Evil Geniuses taking the tournament. Congrats to them. Man, so cool. What a run to the finish. America, USA, USA, USA.
Oh no, you've been in Japan so long, you think the chant is America. America, the United States of America.
I'm not even dignifying that with a response.
You've been gone too long. But yeah, EG won. Ah, man. Again, I still don't know exactly what's happening with Dota. Because, with different item builds and stuff. But I mean, I can understand what's happening. And, oh man, that $6 million dunk, or what people are calling it.
Oh man, I know. In the Roche pit.
Yeah, in the Roche pit with the freaking...
Earthshaker, man.
Earthshaker and the apparition and the the team wipe of CDC. Oh man, it was exciting. I was getting pretty hype, and that's saying something.
My brother and I were able to tune in and watch it live, see the whole third game, and the whole fourth game, excuse me. And it was so exciting to watch. I mean, we're gonna deep dive here a little bit, but we were talking about it, and we really felt that the game turned heavily in EG's favor at the first clash when both teams were shadowed up, and EG had the high ground. And was able to win that first battle. And that kind of put CDAC on the defensive and made them feel like they were behind. And that's what made them rush to get Roche. And once they were wiped at the Roche pit, that dunk, the $6 million dunk, man.
$6 million dunk.
It was all over. It was just a matter of how fast it would end at that point.
Yeah, no, it's so cool that, aside from a couple day 1, day 2 issues with getting the streams running and potential DDoS attacks, the tournament ran really smoothly. There were great matches all around. The meta at least seemed like it is in a place that, for me at least as a spectator, the matches were interesting. Of course, the production value was great. The teams were great, and it made waves. I mean, ESPN had this 5-minute segment where they talked with Casey Atchison, I believe is her name, who's kind of like the ground reporter from the International. She's like a local Seattle reporter who, for the past 3 now internationals, has worked as a kind of a interviewer and a reporter there. And so it's cool. I mean, this is now the second time in as many months, and the second time in 2 months that some sort of esport competition has been featured on ESPN. So times are gradually changing.
Yeah, man, we can only hope. Very encouraging.
All right, so what's a news item from this past week that really gripped you, Fliss?
Oh man, well hey, actually it's time for some stories. As a younger man, I was very into tabletop wargaming. I'll be honest, I still am very into tabletop wargaming. I just don't have the opportunity.
You just admitted that on a podcast. You just admitted that for everyone.
That's okay. I have no shame. I'm proud of who I am. I don't feel the need to hide the dark areas of my personality in the way in the corner.
Sorry.
Like some people. Looking at you. Looking at you.
I'll play no tabletop miniatures.
Looking at you.
There's that hierarchy of nerdy activities, and I'd say that's among the bottom. Well, the bottom is LARPing, but right above that.
Wait, are you sure LARPing's the bottom?
What's worse than LARPing?
I'm not sure, but I just feel like there's something that we
Ren
probably
Fair.
could.
Okay, Ren Fair's on the bottom.
Whoa, throwing shade. Throwing shade. Says the guy who actually had a phenomenal time when he came out to the Renaissance Fair.
Yeah, I'm pretty good. I got to shoot a crossbow. That's pretty fun.
By pretty fun, you mean awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Anyway, tabletop wargaming, not low on the hierarchy of nerdy activities.
That's quite low. Until you can name something other than LARPing that's lower, it's staying in that bottom echelon for me.
All right, I'll come up with something that is lower than LARPing. Probably writing a blog about video games and recording a podcast about it.
Yeah, probably. God dang it.
No, man, but I really liked tabletop wargaming, and one of the games I really enjoyed was Warhammer 40k, a kind of dark future, kind of it's a game that my brother described recently as the epitome of 12-year-old cool. Like, it's just like, oh man, everything is darkness, humanity is doomed, there's chaos, there's space marines and armor, there's, worlds where every single person is conscripted in the army from birth. So, it's just like ridiculous, over-the-top, dark future stuff. And since I started the game, it's just gotten far too expensive. The company that makes it, Games Workshop, has gotten really, really greedy in terms of trying to squeeze its core audience and has pushed me out. I'm not bitter. I'm really bitter. I'll be honest. I'm really bitter. I'm really, really bitter.
Yeah, you're bitter.
And I'm really, really bitter
man.
in part because I still love the setting. I still think it is so ridiculous and so fun and so much of a good time to play around in. And that's why I'm really excited that they're going to be releasing a mobile game set in the 40k universe. It's going to be a tap-click mech shooter, and it's going to be called Warhammer 40k Freeblade. So this game could be terrible, probably will be terrible.
Could be terrible.
Probably will be terrible, but the studio making it does have some real background in creating good mobile games, and they are really trying to take inspiration from Infinity Blade, which is perhaps the best mobile game to date, in my opinion. You gonna disagree with me?
That's a bold claim. Yes.
Go ahead.
I see so much better.
Well,
you got Hearthstone, Faster Than Light.
Hearthstone's not a mobile game. Hearthstone is a PC game
Hearthstone
that was
is
ported
totally
over
mobile
to,
game.
ported over to mobile.
We'll talk about that in later
mobile.
news and views. Hearthstone is now looks like a predominantly mobile game.
Yeah, but it started out as a PC game that was ported over.
Okay, okay. I'll have to think. I'll need time to think of that. That like a game that started on iOS.
Oh man, I can see the smoke burning as you try and crank up the engines in there.
It's early.
Right, but anyway, so, it seems like they're going to try and do this in the right direction. Now, will it probably have, like, terrible free-to-play dynamics if they choose to make it free-to-play? Yes, absolutely. But it looks like it could be fun to just get in there and play around in the 40k universe again for a while at no cost to me, other than perhaps a little bit of wasted time and energy clicking on my screen. So I've been on record on this podcast before saying I don't like mobile games. This is a game that makes me want to actually download something on mobile. That's a big deal. That's an impactful piece of news.
Oh, okay. I don't disagree that it's impactful, but Sword and Sorcery is my answer. Sword and Sorcery came out, I think that's the name of it. Oh gosh. It came out originally on iOS.
Why don't you go ask Google?
It's very good. I'm Googling it right now.
We await your response. Tell us about this game, Alex.
Yeah, or Sword and Sorcery is what it's called. It has 2 W's there. It's really good.
I'm pretty sure that just hit the low point on the hierarchy of activities.
No way. It's good. It's good, man.
Sword and Sorcery?
It's good. Trust me. You don't even know.
Is it free to
play? No, you have to pay.
How much is it?
You have to pay for it. I don't know, probably like $3 or something.
All right, I'll check this out.
Check them out. So moving on to games from Gamescom, going back. Kind of the games that made a big impact on me coming out of it were surprises. I wasn't necessarily surprised that Battleborne made such an impact because I've been looking forward to it a while, but I was very impressed with what they showed. We talked a bit last week about how Mirror's Edge really spoke to me, as well as the Blizzard games, the stupid lifestyle games that I've gotten myself into. But for me, one game that really stood out. Yeah, I know. It's horrible, man. It's a part-time job. One game that really stood out to me, we had seen it a little bit at E3, but really had a strong and cool showing here, was EITR? It's hard. I think it's
EITR.
EITR. So this, they showed off this lengthy gameplay demo. It looked phenomenal. This is a small team, I think, coming out of England. It's being published by Devolver Digital, and this game, oh gosh, it looks so good. This is moved up to one of my most anticipated games. So the developers themselves describe it as Dark Souls combined with Diablo. So this is an isometric pixel art game in which you do dungeon crawling like Diablo, but the combat and the kind of item systems are very inspired by Dark Souls. So a lot of your experience is based on loot, so that your character doesn't necessarily level up, but you get stronger items that you can use. Items are associated with skills, and you have a certain number of skill points. I think a lot of their systems are based upon this idea of the kind of like use numbers, which you've seen in the Souls games. So you have a healing item that you can only use so many times before you die or reach a checkpoint. Certain even like powerful magic abilities have the same kind of uses. So honestly, this game, like from such a small team and such a team that hasn't released a game before, they talked how they've made games before but thought none of them were good enough to be released. We're getting this meaty, massive, beautiful looking game that looks to have a deep world of dungeon crawling, loot acquisition, exploration, combat systems. I'm super impressed by EITR. Fliss, did you get to check out this gameplay demo I linked?
I did, and I really enjoyed seeing the demo. I really enjoyed watching the interview with one of the developers who was on the team and listening to him talk about the games he likes and the way he wanted to put stuff from those games into this one. Basically, I have nothing to say about the gameplay because you're right. It looks great. The art looks great. It looks like it's going to be challenging and fun and interesting. I am hopeful that we will get more of a story than we've had in the Souls games. I'm hopeful that they will bring us something to kind of motivate us through the games a little bit better. And, well, we can talk about my total lack of progress on Souls games later in the show. Running theme. But anyway, in a kind of more, I hate to say this, but in a kind of more indie title and a lower budget title, that's what I'm going to go with.
There we go.
Like this one, even one that's being promoted at Gamescom, in a lower budget title like this, I feel like it needs to bring me something to keep me there, because the beautiful art is not going to hold me the same way that consistently cool graphics are. And maybe this is me, and maybe this is a problem with me as a gamer, but in Dark Souls, in Demon Souls, in these areas, because the graphics are so nice, I can kind of create my own roleplay. I can kind of put myself into that vessel, that kind of empty vessel that they've given me, and work through it. But if you're going to give me characters with different abilities, if you're going to make this more RPG-like in the way the characters are kind of initially designed, then I'm going to want more story, because I can't just kind of fill that vessel with myself. It's already there. There's something there, and I want to know that story. So I hope the story delivers.
Yeah, I mean, I can absolutely see where you're coming from. For me, I think pixel art is an increasing... I know a lot of people complain, oh, indies, blah, 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 pixel art. But I think pixel art, at the level that they're doing it here, is an increasingly lost art form. Because not only is it more expensive to do than doing like a 3D rendered model that you put into 2D, or this kind of hand-drawn or computer generated... but there was a piece I linked in a couple of weeks ago in my news and views on my blog that said pixel art also is not profitable because a lot of the people who are playing games these days didn't grow up with pixel art games. And so, like, especially at least on the mobile market, pixel art can hurt you because people will see pixel art and be like, oh, this is an old game, this is a crappy game. They didn't have the resources to make, 3D models, blah, blah, blah. Even though pixel art is way more time intensive, and so for me, pixel art really speaks to me because it has that certain aesthetic and dynamic. And I actually I pretty strongly disagree with you here about it. I actually hope that the story is pretty subtle because I want them to focus on their gameplay systems. For me, indies are all about, they're about a ton of different things, but an indie like this is all about creating this interesting gameplay dynamic, and that's what hooks me. Like, playing a game out on my playlist right now, Galaxy, the story is nice and all, but I'm really there for like this very tight gameplay that I really haven't seen the systems combined in such a unique way before. And I think that's what EITR looks like. It looks to be this kind of unique hybrid of Diablo and Dark Souls-like systems. And I think when that's perfected, everything else is gravy. Like, the art is gravy, the story is gravy, the characters is gravy. And they did mention, as you saw in the interview, they did mention there is some sort of story, but I assume you'll probably get bits and pieces of, like a Souls game, dialogue here and there. And there probably won't be much of a story, but for me, that's like, I don't care about that.
Well, I mean, I completely disagree with you. I mean, I just think that I'm going to get bored, and it doesn't matter how cool or innovative the gameplay is. If I'm doing it long enough and there's nothing to keep me moving through the game, I'm just going to stop caring. And so this, right now as it stands, unless you come back and say, Fliss, EITR is like the most amazing thing ever, you got to play it. Unless that happens, like, if it doesn't have a story, it looks like a game that I'm going to play half of and be like, yeah, I guess it was cool. And it was pretty.
All right.
but
fair
it
enough.
doesn't motivate me any further.
I guess you're talking to the guy who played Spelunky for like 400 hours. There's zero story in that, so...
Yeah, but I think Spelunky, that's exactly it, though. Spelunky is, like you said, it's zero story. It gives you these, like, little characters, and then it's 100% skill-based. It's 100% do these challenges, fill this out, do this yourself. And Spelunky, just in its aesthetic, calls down all these other great, like, temple raiding. I mean, it just the opening scene of Raiders of the Lost Ark calls the entire story of Spelunky together. So I think that we're kind of comparing apples and oranges at that point, right? Because if you're gonna give me a Diablo aesthetic, I'm gonna want a little bit of story. If you're gonna give me an RPG aesthetic, I'm gonna want some story. If you're gonna give me pixel art, which you said, it's cool, it's an art form, and I agree with you about all that stuff. But pixel art calls back to me JRPGs with good stories that I enjoy kept me hooked. And I think
I'll strongly disagree with you though about Diablo's story. Like the story in Diablo 3 at least is garbage.
Well, yes.
It's so bad.
No, I can't defend Diablo 3 stories. I won't even try.
It's like there's nothing there, nothing to it, which is fine because the game is great because it's fun to play. But like if you're there for the story, you're gonna be disappointed.
Yeah, I just think that at this point saying we're falling into this classic debate of like gameplay versus story, man. But I want it all. I think we should be able to have it all. I just think that we've talked about this on the podcast before. I think that the state of games writing right now is pretty pathetic. And so while I'm encouraged by the way that we're innovating on gameplay, the way we're combining games to make new gameplay aesthetics, I just want a good story. I think gaming is such a powerful story medium. I want a good story.
Yeah. And there's increasingly, I think, more and more options for that. I heard a recommendation. This is another rabbit hole, but I heard a recommendation on a different podcast to listen to. If you're interested in mobile games, there's a mobile game called Lifeline that apparently has super good game writing. So I would check that out if you're interested in the story.
All right, yeah, I'll give that a look. But I want to be clear here too that I am in some ways part of the camp that like you kind of need a fail state to have a game that makes you feel like you're really, really playing it. And I know you're going to disagree with me about that because I know how you love your Telltale games.
So much. So much.
But what I want is a game that gives me that and gives me a really good story. So will Eider be that game? Probably not. But could Eider be maybe a step in the right direction towards that game? Okay.
Could be.
Okay.
Could be. Oh, man. So you don't need a fail state. I feel like sometimes in story-based games, fail states completely like throw off the story. Because it's like, well, the story can't continue if you die or you fail. Oh, man. This is a whole nother discussion.
We're going to have to table this discussion for another night. Tell me some more news.
Oh, man. All right, we got some more news. Speaking of Souls, just briefly, at Gamescom, people did an interview with, this is posted on GameSpot, an interview with Dark Souls creator Hidetaka Miyazaki about what's next. And among other things that all sound great to me, Miyazaki mentioned that Dark Souls 3, in his mind, is going to be the turning point for the Souls series. And he didn't really specify what that means, but at least hinted at that different things might be on the horizon. So I'm sure because Dark Souls is such a profitable IP, we're still probably going to see more Dark Souls. I'd be extremely surprised if we didn't see more Bloodborne. But this opens up the possibility for Miyazaki and the Souls team creating different games, or maybe using this beautiful, smart, tight Souls-like system in other kind of games. And so we can just do this quickly, Fliss. Is there any other... If you could take like the Souls combat and Souls exploration and kind of the Souls core and apply it with put a different skin or a different paint on it, what would be that paint or world that speaks to you the most?
Dead Space.
Yeah. That's fast.
That's what I want. I want like to be in outer space, adrift in a world with like aliens or decayed zombies or something like that. I want to feel that kind of lone hero experience that you get in the Souls games. I think that would be so cool in outer space or in any kind of sci-fi setting, really.
Oh yeah, no, Dark Souls Dead Space would seem freaking... Oh man, that would be so cool. Dead Space is so good. Oh man, that's a game I almost forgot about. Dead Space is a good game, folks.
This is turning into like the Alex fanboy recommendations episode.
Please, everyone, check out Dead Space. It's among the best survival horror games. I mean, it gets a little too action-y, but it's among the best. Anyway.
Hey, speaking of survival horror.
Yeah. Oh.
Whoa, I'm going to cut you off here because...
Segueing.
Speaking of survival horror, I mean, Resident Evil 2 was one of the best survival horror games of all time. Of all time! And
wow, that's bold claims, the episode.
No, man, it was... Yeah, that actually, I like that a lot. No, man, but it's great. And you know what's going to be even better? A remake. In HD!
Ooh. HD! Yeah, so give the folks a little background on this. It's kind of a crazy story.
Yeah, man, so Resident Evil 2 has kind of a cult following. I mean, Resident Evil, the whole series, has a huge cult following. But Resident Evil 2 originally came out way back on the PlayStation 1. And pretty much ever since we've hit these, like, beautiful next-generation consoles, starting with PS3, really, fans have been clamoring for an HD remake of it. And finally, after lots of like hoops and petitions and all kinds of things, Capcom has started to take notice. And perhaps the biggest of these things was a fan-made Resident Evil 2 remake.
A group of fans came together and basically redid the game.
Yeah, I mean, they pretty much did Capcom's job for them. And I mean, I would have loved to be a fly on the wall at the Capcom meeting where they were just like, I think we should probably make this game. We could probably sell this.
Oh man, being a fly on the wall at any game dev studio would just be awesome.
It'd be so
as
cool.
As a games writer myself. God.
Wow, man, that was. I'm trying to think of a family-friendly word to describe what that was.
I'm gonna start needing to get that bleep sound effect just so I can put it in.
Yeah, you're definitely gonna need the bleep sound effect. Next episode could be bleep the episode.
Oh, bleep the episode.
Yeah, no, but man, absolutely, I would love to be a fly on the wall at one of those things. But you know, like pretty much the fans remade it, which is awesome. I mean, more power to those guys who did that. That is so cool, and what an amazing job. And especially because it got Capcom going, and now they're confirming that Resident Evil 2, the remake, HD remake, is going to happen. They're developing it. They don't have any kind of time schedule. They don't have any kind of details. They haven't even told us what platforms it's going to be. Although I think PlayStation 4, Xbone, PC is like not unlikely.
Probably the consoles.
Yeah. I mean that seems pretty smart. But it's interesting too that Capcom is really beginning to embrace these remakes as a real part of their business strategy. And we've talked a lot recently about nostalgia. And I'm really curious about this because as we've had in my bold claims that Resident Evil 2 is one of the best survival horror games ever, will it hold up if we get an HD remake? Will it hold up? Will it make us think, boy, I really wish I was playing the playable trailer? I mean, what's going to happen?
I know it'd make me feel like that. Yeah, it's an interesting debate, and this happened because Capcom had remade Resident Evil 1. This came out on PS4 and Xbox One and PC recently, and while of course there was adoration and praise for the game, and it certainly exists in a certain time and space in the design world, there are a lot of flaws and a lot of issues that kind of have been solved as to making a game like that. But, you know, because of its ambitiousness and its boldness, people can respect it. And I think Resident Evil 2 is going to exist in a similar space. Having played it many years ago, it's hard to say for sure. But I'm sure there's a lot of those kind of, like, flaws endemic to these PS1 era survival horror games, where, you know, movement is awkward and sure, it adds to, like, this tension of the survival horror because, like, you can't navigate the world very well, but is more a product of the game engine and the game systems rather than complete intentionality to the character's movement. But no, I'm excited. This is not a game that I would pick up. For me, I find it very difficult to go back and play a lot of these games from my childhood, just because I'm always, you know, newer, better, best. I want to keep on playing the new games, the exciting games, the new hotness. But it's really cool for fans who, you know, want to jump back in, and, you know, you have like these digital releases of the old versions, but sometimes those don't work super well, so it's cool.
I couldn't disagree with you more. This is absolutely something that I would be excited about. Definitely something I would pick up. Definitely something I would revisit. I think that you risk forgetting your roots, my friend, as you chase the shiniest ball rolling down the aisle.
No, man. They're very deeply ingrained in the core of my being, but I need to move on. They've built my foundation, and now I'm moving on to these games that have never been played before. And, I mean, I would play them if, like, a billion games didn't come out each week.
That is very true. That is, like, the constant crush of new games.
Like, of those billion games, 75,000 look cool, and, like, that I'd want to play, so... And these are actual numbers here, folks. This is pulled from the NPD reports of...
Yeah, sure. We all believe you there, Alex.
Yeah.
Especially that very objective measurement, look cool.
I'm a scientist. I'm good with calculations, so you can trust me, folks. Don't want to buy a medical scientist, so maybe don't trust me with statistics. Certainly don't trust this guy. Ooh, social science. Do you guys even have ends? Do you even have statistical power behind your findings here?
Man, the whole point of the social sciences is to apply math to things that it doesn't belong with.
Oh, but math, you'll use math every day. But no, this is cool. Resident Evil 2 introduced Leon Kennedy, who I think is an awesome Resident Evil character in Raccoon City. So
Absolutely.
It's cool. It's cool. But two last things briefly as we wrap up the section. First, for the first time ever, PlayStation and their premium service, the PlayStation Plus, is allowing users to vote on one of the 6 games that will come to the service. This is, for me, a good and a bad thing. It's good because, obviously, power to the players. Woo, yay, good. But at the same time, I usually disagree with everyone online. Like, people have been demanding Knack come out on PlayStation Plus since day one, and Knack is not a good game. I'd much rather like these indie games that we've been getting than that. But the first vote is up for September, so anybody who has a PlayStation Plus account can vote. The games are Armello, which is like this fantasy board game, video game interpretation of that. It looks really cool. Grow Home, which was this game that came out of Ubisoft Studios, a small team, procedurally generated kind of platformer where you're trying to reach space with this little robot guy, and Zombie Vikings, which looks like this Castle Crashers, Streets of Rage style 2D cooperative brawler. They all look awesome. I saw people be like, oh man, these games, can I vote for none of the above? And for me, I'm like, can I vote for all of the above? They look awesome.
Yeah, man, those all sound great.
So,
I haven't voted yet, so which one did you vote for, and why should I vote for it?
God, this is tough. They all look great, but I think I'd love to support true indies, but for me, I think Grow Home is the game that I could see myself playing from beginning to end. And it just looks, the aesthetic is really beautiful, and I love like these procedural like vine growth systems that they have in place here. So I haven't voted yet either, but my vote I think is going to go to Grow Home. Though that seems to look like the inevitability just by looking at the view counts on each of these trailers. So
that's disappointing to hear, since it sounds like for me, Zombie Vikings, just from your description, is exactly the game I want to play. I spent so much time playing Castle Crashers. Oh, I love that game. So, absolutely, brawlers. I'm such a huge fan of brawlers.
Yeah, for this first month at least. They haven't confirmed for other months, but this first month at least, the one that wins will be on the PlayStation Plus Instant Game lineup, and the other 2 will have a launch discount.
Oh, man. PlayStation finds yet another way to reach into my wallet.
For all those times, for all of that hours you've been able to play this past month.
But someday I'll have time, right? And I can play all these games that I own.
Yeah, of course.
Right? Right?
And then this last piece of news is crazy. It is crazy.
Crazy?
So, that little game of Hearthstone that I started playing, I got you playing, and now I've got Justine kind of playing.
You got Justine
this little
kind
game
of playing?
Oh, yeah, we could talk about that in experimental methods.
Oh, man, I cannot wait to hear that.
So, Hearthstone, this free-to-play game by Blizzard, racks in $20 million a month.
Holy bleep.
Holy bleep.
Holy bleep. That's incredible.
So, yeah, there was a study, this kind of data study that was funded. They went into it, they found the statistics, and $20 million a month on Hearthstone. Why do people make non-free-to-play games anymore? What?
Stop asking that. I like non-free-to-play games.
Trust me, I do too, but we had that story, Fallout Shelter made $2 million like their first week as a free-to-play game. Hearthstone's pulling in $20 million a month. God.
That's incredible.
That's a lot of money. I'm part of the problem.
Yeah, you are.
I pre-ordered my 50 Grand Tournament packs.
Well, we knew it would happen, folks. It was an inevitability.
It's for the name. It's in the name of the Impact Factor.
Money bags.
No promises.
Money bags.
No promises.
Money bags.
No promises. But I think I have a setup that I can stream from my computer to Twitch. So I might be trying to stream my pack opening.
Oh man, I'm sure that you sharing the opening of your packs with us it's
for the greater good.
Such an
it's for the greater good.
Motivation to purchase them. And I know I'm going to be part of the problem because if you stream that, I'm going to watch it.
You better watch it, man. Yeah, holy crap. The graphs are interesting though because of course at first all the money was coming from the PC, which makes sense because Hearthstone was only on the PC. But then as it transitioned to iPad near launch and then mobile, what was it, the end of last year? Or something like that, I don't know, or start of this year. I don't know officially when the mobile version, like the iOS, Android versions launched. The money has kind of dramatically shifted the other way. So PC money is a much smaller portion of the market, and the mobile money is dramatically higher. So I think something like 12, 13-ish million, or maybe up to 14 of that 20 million comes from mobile, which is crazy to me.
That's insane.
So maybe I'm not part of the problem because I only play it on my computer at the moment.
Well, see, I'm part of the problem on mobile because I definitely play it mostly on mobile, but I have not spent any money since Black Rock Mountain.
Yeah. So that's that. I mean, congrats to Blizzard. Hearthstone is a phenomenal game.
We're big fans of it here at the Impact Factor.
Yeah, I've played it since official launch, just because I couldn't get into the beta. It's hundreds and hundreds of hours of entertainment. I'm going to keep playing it. I'm super excited for when the Grand Tournament releases. Hopefully that's freaking soon. I've been having these 50 packs sitting there. Like, they shake and they look at you. It's like, you can open these in August. I'm like, gosh dang it, it's mid-August already.
No, man, I'm saving gold. I'm saving gold.
Me too. I'm going to buy... So I got 50 packs pre-ordered, and I'm going to buy another 25 with gold.
Shaking my head. I just can't even conceive of those numbers.
Oh, yeah. So
I hope
I've
bought 75 packs lifetime in Hearthstone.
Oh, God. Yeah, and I have enough dust already to craft 3 legendaries now. Like I can craft them right now, so... I'm prepared. I'm prepared to get all the good cards from this new set.
Yeah, man. Well, I hope they turn out to be terrible and they get nerfed.
Yes. Screw you, buddy. So that about wraps it up. We'd love to hear from the community the news items you all thought had the biggest impact. So we didn't talk a bunch of stuff from Gamescom. So you're like, hey, Alex and Fliss, why are you always talking about Dark Souls and esports and Hearthstone? Well, because that's what we like, and there's a lot of news about them. So email us.
Yeah, let us know what you want to hear about.
Yeah, let us know what you want to hear. That's impactfactorpodcast@gmail.com. So Fliss, let's put things in perspective. Perspectives is part of the show, well, when any number of things can happen. In academia, it's when investigators share their opinions with the community at large. Here, it's a revolving section where we experiment with what's worth discussing. Whew. Fliss and I will usually pick out an editorial piece and discuss it today. I got it today. I got it.
Man.
I was on top of that. That's a lot. Okay, there's like 5 W words in a row.
You just need to practice more.
Yeah.
Failure comes from poor preparation.
Yeah, sure.
Anyway,
so we chose an editorial piece. Let's get it going. Fliss, what's the editorial piece we got to discuss today?
Yeah, well, hey, it's been a couple weeks since we talked about an editorials piece, and you found a really great one for us today, and it's called "What Brings a Virtual City to Life." It's by Kathrine Cross at Gamasutra, and Ms. Cross is a PhD student in sociology studying antisocial online behavior. And she brings up some amazing points about the problems that games, especially open world games, have building cities that feel alive, that draw the player into them, that create a world that the character can participate in as a vital member of perhaps what at least feels like a larger society. What did you think about this, Alex?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Cross has a lot of good stuff to say. I chose the article prominently because her writing is so solid and she brings up a lot of interesting and salient points about this discussion. And being a PhD student also. Yeah, go PhD student.
Rub it in.
Woo!
Rub it in.
Camaraderie. But yeah, so, I mean, she studies antisocial behavior online, but she does a lot of games writing. She cites one of her inspirations for this piece as an excellent piece I've linked in my news and views on my blog, a piece by Austin Walker over at Giantbomb. where he discusses Arkham, where he talks Batman Arkham Knight and how his inability to connect with Gotham due to the lack of citizenry and a realistic life to the city, made it a game for him that he no longer wanted to play. In my review of Batman Arkham Knight on my blog, I mentioned this briefly. It is an issue with the game. It creates this disconnect. It's hard to be a superhero when you have no one to save. I think it is an issue. But yeah, there's a lot of discussions here about what brings a virtual city to life, what a game can do to make you feel like you're in a certain time and space. And I think this is especially pertinent with the, not recent release of Batman Arkham Knight. I guess it's been a while, but it's on a lot of people's thoughts and minds, and we've had other open world games this year, so let's jump in. So Fliss, let's see, what's like the most recent open world game you've played, and did that game create a believable city for you to explore and feel did it feel alive?
So actually, that's a great question. Thanks, Alex. I have not played an open world game in a very, very long time. I honestly cannot remember the last time I played an open world game.
Wow. Well, it's impressive, especially because increasingly open world seems to be the default.
And that's something that I find very disheartening because I don't like open world games. Not like as a rule, but just I tend to dislike them. And that comes from two things. And I think this article really significantly touches on one of them. And I think that you're going to touch on another one when you start talking about The Witcher. But the first one is that there's a paralysis of choice in open world games. I find myself paranoid that I'm going to miss something important, that I'm going to go somewhere else. And so instead of feeling free to kind of play in the world, I feel worried that I'll take the wrong path. But then the other thing is that rarely does an open world game feel like more than just a map with dots on it that take a long time to go between, to me. And I think that this article really talks about why. I think that we have to talk about when you walk into a city in an open world game, how there are going to be like 3 or 4 NPCs that you can talk to, maybe a few more in more modern games, but you're rarely going to have lots of just things happening that make it feel alive. There's not going to be things that draw you into it, little interactions, little things. And I would actually rather have developers spend less time creating a bazillion side quests and give me more of these little interactions, maybe even just, little pieces of stuff in markets, things that make it feel alive, NPCs interacting with each other. And that's something that these cities basically almost never offer. No,
I'd say the large majority of open world games just feel like a giant sandbox and not a place where people live, just not a place that would exist outside of this giant, toy playpen that you get to move around in. The author Cross brings up the Imperial City from the Elder Scrolls IV Oblivion as an example of one of these cities that has really kind of struck her as she didn't feel a connection to. As opposed to the other Elder Scrolls games before it, which you were kind of like on the outskirts of civilization. The Imperial City has been talked about. It's this huge capital of all of, I guess, Temeria? I don't remember the name. Either way, it's a giant city, but by the time you get there, you can feel how hollow and empty and quiet and lonely it is. You have people, but most of them you can't interact with. You have doors, but most of them are shut. It's essentially just long hallways around the giant tower. And so Cross puts this more elegantly than perhaps I would have, and mentions that there are a lot of places to play in this open world, but no place to live. And she mentions that cities need this element of tactility, the able to be interacted with in meaningful ways that aren't just violence. And so obviously violence is this kind of central mechanic for so many games, and open world games especially. And if the only way you have to interact with a city is through, the same kind of combat systems you're using everywhere else, it feels just like another skin of another place on the map, rather than a city that's alive and breathing and thriving.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that this division between playing in a place and living in it is really something that a lot of open world games purport to want to achieve, right? They want to feel like you can inhabit this world. And I think that that's something that's not being achieved here. Cross also goes on to talk about Star Wars: The Old Republic and its capital city, right, Coruscant, which every nerd here should know. But right, it's a planet that is basically just an entire city, like it's an entire planet city, which is totally awesome. But you go into that world, and it's basically just like a market and a few other places to go. And so this diminishing of places that are supposed to be grand into like very small interactions is a serious problem for games. And I want to bring special attention to her use of Star Wars, because Star Wars, and then she also mixes up World of Warcraft and Lord of the Rings Online, these are games that are using a larger lore, a larger world that's already been established. So they kind of already have a shorthand for the way that you're supposed to live in them, and they're still failing to achieve giving you that feeling.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, and I think the Marketplace is a good example. A game that's not truly open world, it's certainly not open world, but again, I think fails to create compelling cities is Mass Effect. Every time you go to a city in Mass Effect, so a non-combat zone, essentially all you can do is talk to a few people and then buy and sell stuff in the shops. And I think most cities have the issue too, if we're talking from an RPG perspective, where a city is essentially a place where you go to buy and sell goods, rest and recover, and then go away from. And it's not a place that you want to stay in or feels like it exists other than a space for which to facilitate your game systems. And so I think that kind of contrasts with a game like Batman Arkham Knight, where you've got the entirety of this at least section of Gotham to explore in, but there are no buildings that you can enter aside from buildings that are designed to be entered for your story missions and your side quests. There are no civilians about because the game finds a way to evacuate everyone again. And so all people you see are criminals that are there to facilitate the combat systems and allow you to, beat them up or whatever you want or ignore them. And so again, it feels like a Gotham that you wouldn't want, who would live here? And if no one would live there, why are you defending it? It creates a kind of cognitive divide, which I think is pretty powerful. There's a quote in the Walker piece, which I'll try to remember to link in the show notes as well, where it's like, Gotham is the pinnacle of everything. It's the brightest, loudest, most exciting, most diverse, most violent, most evil, most everything. It's like the maximum of everything, designed after a New York from the 1980s or something. Yeah, it's got the worst criminals and the worst, heinous acts of violence and crime and destruction, but on the same time, it also has the best nightlife, the best concerts, the best clubs, the best art museums. And so you pay that social price of having to deal with the crime and the insanity by living in the most vibrant and thriving city in the world, potentially. But in Gotham, it just feels like a hollow, dark, neon, illuminated prison. And so it sucks. I mean, it sucks that you can't create a compelling world in that way.
Yeah, man, and you'd mentioned in your playthrough with Batman Arkham Knight that the way you kind of go around tearing up the city as Batman was kind of knocked you out of the story, was very disturbing. Other critics mentioned that as well as not something that was an uncommon feeling. And so certainly the kind of evacuated Gotham that allows you to destroy it is part of that problem, right? It knocks you out of that superhero role. And I think that that's something that happens whenever you have one of these cities that kind of fails to live up to what it could be, is just a home base where you heal up or buy a new weapon. It fails to make you feel like you're in the game. It knocks you out of the game for a moment. And in a game that's trying to be immersive, in a game that's trying to make you feel like you are that character, like you are writing that story, that's crippling.
Yeah, no, I certainly mentioned the gaminess. I think a lot of open world games feel like you're playing a game. You're not in the same kind of world like you would be in a game like The Last of Us, which is so tightly designed and focused to put you in a time and place and a character and a story and a world. I think one of my biggest issues for so many of these city, these cities that are placed in these games is buildings are almost never buildings. They're just giant. There's just like giant walls and giant blocks. Like, I can't tell you how many like buildings you walk up to and you hope like maybe you could go in and see something, but it's just wall. It's just a giant wall. You only have certain buildings that allow you to go in, and I understand this from a design and a gameplay perspective. Obviously, if you have a huge city with every building enterable, that takes up so much memory. But I think you have to create that balance of having enough content you can engage with in non-violent ways and balance that with the size of the city. If that means your cities have to be smaller, so be it. I think you would find much more success having a smaller, more alive city than a sprawling city that feels like somewhere from feels like you're playing in a game where a developer just kind of plopped a bunch of building objects along a row.
Yeah, man, absolutely. I just completely agree with you.
Yeah, but I think one thing I wanted to mention here is a game that has really found success with this open world game in surprising ways, and that's with creating a virtual city to life, and that's The Witcher 3. So this is a game I've been playing recently, and probably will continue to be playing until Fallout 4 comes out. And CD Projekt Red are phenomenal developers. Each city that you go to, nearly every building you can enter and talk with the citizens there.
That's awesome.
You obviously have your NPCs and your merchants, but people are talking on the streets. They're moving around in what don't look, at least, to be fixed movement patterns. Whenever you pass someone, odds are they'll say something towards you, even if it's just like a throwaway line like, not a witcher up in here, or something like that. Like, people don't really like witchers. I think one of their chief successes is in this large capital kind of city of the map called Novigrad. It's huge and sprawling, but not only are there a ton of buildings to go in, these little side quests, which are marked by yellow exclamation points, pop up everywhere, which just have different interactions. So one of the interactions popped up was there's a street prophet that was kind of telling the crowd that they need to respect the eternal fire or they'll die. And I just had the option to go up to him and be like, don't listen to his crock. Him and the church he's representing are corrupt. And I got the crowd to disperse, and the crowd was gone, and the preacher looked sad, he picked up his box, and he walked away.
Oh, man. It's intense.
There's different little, I saw someone being robbed, and it just popped up briefly, so I managed to go and stop the robber, and then that guy set up a shop that now I can permanently go to that guy's shop.
That's awesome.
Conversations happen, and so many buildings are explorable, and it feels alive and like a city that functions and exists when I'm not there. And I think The Witcher really succeeds in that way of creating cities that feel vibrant and feel alive. And because they offer the player so many non-violent ways to interact with them. Of course, there are violent ways you can interact with the city as well, but I think in that way there's a real history, there's a real character, and there's a real tangibleness to at least most of the cities I've experienced on The Witcher 3. And so I think it can be accomplished in larger games, and certainly in a game like Arkham Knight, it could have been done. But so that's what I just want to mention. There's a ton of other stuff we could talk about. That some of my favorite open worlds, but even our open worlds are cities. My favorite video game cities. There's different cities I enjoy for different reasons. It's hard to touch on a lot of them now because we kind of have talked a lot about this. But I think really as we keep having more and more of these cities being portrayed and represented in games, there's going to be this rising need to have the city feel alive and not just a play space to facilitate what the developers want. And so I think the piece by Kathrine Cross really kind of touches on this and starts the conversation going.
Yeah, so definitely we highly recommend that you check that out. Send us your thoughts about open world games. Let us know your favorites. Let us know if you think that their cities made you feel like they were alive and drew you in and increased your enjoyment and your immersion in the game. And let us know if you think we're off base about what a game city should do. I think we're on the right track, but we'd still love to hear from you.
I'd like to say we're on the right track. Oh, yeah. So that's What Brings a Virtual City to Life by Kathrine Cross. And it was posted on Gamasutra, and we'll have the link in the show notes. All right, so now that our work is done and logged, let's get into our experimental methods.
Experimental methods.
In experimental methods, Fliss and I talked about the video games we've been playing recently. No papers or pipettes, cells or census here, just our words. We look at what works, what doesn't, and we're looking forward to testing. So Fliss, what experiments have you been running?
Well, I have not had a lot of time for games this week. I've been doing a lot of traveling, a lot of exploring. I took some great trips, some road trips. We went to a World Heritage site just a few hours away. We ate dinner in a traditional Japanese-style inn, which is phenomenal. and was amazing. Legitimately some of the best beef I've ever had in my entire life.
Ooh, was it Kobe beef?
It was not Kobe beef, but I do intend to try Kobe beef before I leave Japan.
Okay, good.
And we'll see how that stacks up, because this stuff was pretty melt in your mouth good. So my PS3 and my beautiful new PS4 have been sadly neglected over the past week, but because I've been traveling...
Poor babies.
Because I've been
They're
traveling...
just a baby.
Because I've been traveling... I'm going to ignore that.
There's the baby.
I'm just going to ignore that. Because I've been traveling, I've been going to arcades. And as I've talked about before, I love Japanese arcades. They're so much fun. And I want to tell you about a game that I've been really, really enjoying. I've mentioned it before on the podcast, but that's Gunslinger Stratos. It's a game that you play. It's a light gun game in the arcade, but you get 2 guns.
Explain light gun. We might have some younger listeners that don't necessarily know what a light gun means.
You assume that we have some listeners.
Well,
that is a big assumption.
We maybe have a couple listeners.
All right, well,
God dang
a light gun is a gun that allows you. It's a gun-shaped controller with a trigger, and then it allows you, by pointing at the screen, to interact with the screen. So generally speaking, it'll give you a crosshair. In more modern games, they'll give you a crosshair. In older games, it didn't. And you'll point it at the screen, and when you pull the trigger, you'll shoot at that location, right? So this is where games that you may have seen, like Time Crisis. I think that's a classic. Silent Hill, in one of its early arcade editions, was a light gun game. So lots of kind of classic games. Area 51, there's a really good old one.
That's a good one.
A really good old one.
House of the Dead, too.
All the House of the Dead series, yeah. I'm a huge fan of light gun games. I can't get enough of them. I've spent so much money because it's just not an experience that they have really feasibly replicated at home.
There's that one Dead Space light gun game for the Wii, but apparently it was not very good.
Well, you had me at for the Wii, and I knew.
Oh, God.
Yep, there I am, talking bleep about Nintendo again.
Yeah, you and all this bleep.
Yeah, man. Well, let me tell you about some good bleep, alright? Gunslinger Stratos gives you 2 light guns that you dual wield, right? So
that's awesome.
That's freaking awesome. And then you can combine them using magnetic connectors in a twin gun or an overhead gun, right? So you connect the guns side by side, or you connect them one on top of the other, and that gives you a secondary and tertiary weapon. So that is super fun, right? Because usually your 2 main guns are like pistols, and then you connect them to give yourself a machine gun. You put them on top of each other to give yourself something like a light mace or a sniper rifle or a rocket launcher. And then it's an arena battle game, and it is so much fun. And it's got a huge number of characters, all of whom have alternate costumes. And one of the greatest things about this, and you see this with a bunch of Japanese arcade games, but you can buy a card for the game that saves your information. So you scan this card on the machine when you start playing, when you put your 100 yen coins in, and it will save your progress. So you can play story mode and like just play through the missions it gives you for your 100 yen and save your progress and come back and pick up where you left off. So saving your progress in an arcade, so cool. The gameplay is so fun. You feel like such a boss, just, blowing away with these 2 guns, connecting them, getting kills. It's everything I want a shooting game to be. And
So is this...
Yeah.
This is part of my ignorance. Is this a newer game? Like, I know a lot of these games have kind of like PS1 era kind of graphics and stuff. Is this newer? Is this popular? What of light gun games that you've seen in Japan, is there one that kind of stands out amongst the local people there as something, as local arcade goers, that is something that is more popular? I'm curious, because obviously I have no experience in Japanese arcades.
Yeah, man, great question. So actually, Gunslinger Stratos was first released in arcades in 2012, so it's very, very new. It was developed by Biking, but that's through Taito. Taito, a company that has its hands in a lot of different gaming stuff. But one of the things that a lot of people might not know is that it's actually published by Square Enix.
Oh, wow.
So some big names behind it. The version that I've been playing is Gunslinger Stratos 2, which was released in 2014. There's also Gunslinger Stratos Reloaded, which was is supposed to be released this year on Windows. But the arcade version, I'm really enjoying. 2014 release, super cool. Let me make sure I get this correct. Yes. So very, very cool. And in terms of light gun games, it's very popular. You will see upwards of 8 machines for this that all can do linked play. There are tournaments that people come to at the arcades for this game. So it has a very large following here. In fact, they actually just recently did a crossover with Street Fighter. So you can, if you're using your card and you play enough, you can unlock Street Fighter costumes for the different characters.
Oh man, that's awesome.
Yeah, so it's super cool. If you ever wanted to be Ryu double wielding revolvers, now's your chance.
Nice. So is that among your favorites in the Japanese arcades, or do you have another? Because you seem to be playing a bunch of arcade games. Is there another one that really speaks to you?
This is one of definitely in my top 3. I think the Gundam pods, and then which we've talked about here, where you sit in the pod and get a projector screen to feel like you're in a Gundam. Plus then the Gundam Extreme versus Full Boost, mixing the mech battle arena game with fighting game mechanics, and then Gunslinger Stratos are definitely my top 3 games. I think that I just got to play Time Crisis 5, talked about that last week. Time Crisis remains a favorite for me. And then in terms of really kind of unique games that you see at the Japanese arcades, a lot of people are really into different music and rhythm games. I personally like Taiko no Tatsujin, which is the Taiko rhythm game, available in the United States as well.
I think of someone playing that. I think I've seen a video of some guy playing that game like expertly.
It's insane. I mean, there are little kids who show up with their own taiko sticks to play the drums, and you see their moms just like standing behind them and like nodding along as the kid just is crazy, like moving their hands faster than the eye can follow. So lots of fun to watch, really fun to play. I always play like the theme song from Evangelion because I'm a great big nerd. It's a lot of fun. So if you ever come to Japan, which you will, we'll definitely play some of these games together.
Nice. That sounds great, man. I mean, you've got 2 weeks left now on this Demon Souls bet.
It's not looking good for me. I've got a whole other week of vacation, so I may have like 1 week to try and beat like 40 hours of the game.
You could do it.
We'll see. I'm not giving up.
And all this vacation, yeah, man. You've had like a month of vacation. It's a perfect time to beat Demon Souls.
I think you see, this is where we talked about hierarchies of nerddom here. See, when I vacation, I go to historic sites and theme parks. I leave my house. I know this may be a foreign concept for you, buddy.
Leave the house? What? But that's where your video games are, man.
I know, Alex. I know.
I'm just playing around with you.
Yeah, no,
I get a hat out of it anyway, so I'm on cloud 9.
Yeah, man, I was going to say, it is looking more and more likely that the hat will be yours, but I refuse to give in. I refuse to give up hope. I'm not going to stop playing it. I'm going to keep going as soon as I actually have time to sit down and play video games.
Oh, yeah. Well, speaking of video games, I've got a couple on my playlist. Man, there's so many.
Did you just use speaking of video games on a video game podcast as a segue?
Speaking of video games, it's funny you should mention video games, because I've been playing some.
Well, tell me about it, Alex. Gosh, now that we're on this new topic of video games.
Now we're this new, before we're esports cast, I don't even know.
And then we were arcade cast.
Arcade cast. We got spin-off shows here, man. We need to start copywriting stuff. TM and stuff. So I mentioned The Witcher 3 in pretty much every section because I've been playing a lot of The Witcher 3, and it's so good. It is surprisingly good. Like, I've never played a Witcher game before, so full-blown disclosure, but I've played a lot of RPGs. I've played a lot of open-world games. I've played a lot of Western RPGs. This game, I don't know if I described it on the podcast or just in person, as a better Skyrim. And I think that really holds true, which is crazy because obviously Skyrim is a great game.
I didn't play Skyrim.
Witcher 3,
what made Skyrim great?
I mean, the world is expansive and, while empty, interesting because there's so many different kind of dungeons and places to explore. I think they improved upon a lot of what was in the Elder Scrolls Oblivion, for Oblivion, where every map, every cave and dungeon felt the same, where it felt quite different. In Skyrim, there's a ton of like artifacts to collect. Fighting dragons, even though they became quite easy at a certain point in the game, were always fun and cool. You just kind of see a dragon flying overhead and swoop down and start attacking you.
Very cool.
It could put you in a very clear time and space, and I think the shout system was quite fun.
And how does The Witcher do this better?
So The Witcher, one of the points I wanted to talk about here is it has the depth. I feel like it has the depth and focus of a third-person action game, like just a linear third-person action game, but all of that is packed within this entire huge open-world RPG. So everything you do feels handcrafted. Every dungeon, every encounter, like I mentioned it last time, side quests feel like main quests because they have these fully narrated, fully animated interactions. They've got they're huge and sweeping. It's not just like kill 10 wolves and then report back to a person. You have these whole explore this mystical dungeon and find these portals and go through these portals, and they feel fully developed, and they involve characters of weight to the main story. I think the content richness of the game is both in the open world and in the quest itself. I think the quests have you doing a lot of different activities, so it's not just go to point A to point B and kill everything in between. You can oftentimes you can use narrative options to talk your way through scenarios. There are puzzle elements, there are exploration elements, and certainly there's combat elements as well. And it's just remarkable every single thing that they've packed into this game. So not only, like I mentioned in the perspective section, where the cities feel alive, but the world feels so alive. There's so much to do. The content depth is crazy for this game.
Man, that sounds awesome. Just you had me at talking your way through scenarios, being able to move through things in a non-combat way, because I think that makes the combat sound even more savory. So, man,
yeah, there's this whole quest line where I pretty much just talked with people, bribed some people, and then used this kind of Jedi mind control thing that witchers can do on a couple other people, and I beat the whole quest without killing someone. There's a whole quest line.
In a video game?
Yeah. And then after that, I was kind of man, I've been talking with people for 2 hours now. So I had a different quest line where every single person, they're what are you going to do about it? I'm get out of my way or I'm going to kill you. And so they would fight me and then I'd kill them. And so I went through an entire quest killing every single person along the way. because there's this, we won't go into it's no spoilers, here's the side quest. But there's this guy whose name is Whoreson Jr. And
what a name.
Yeah, I know, he's a pretty evil kind of criminal person, and he has henchmen who do a lot of despicable things, and so I cleaved my way through his henchmen, partially because I was tired of talking with people, partially because I wanted to get to him, and I finally got to him, and I'm in this private villa of his, and there's blood everywhere, and he has a proclivity for killing prostitutes that he sleeps with, and so there's dead prostitutes everywhere, and he's trying to talk, and was oh, blah, blah. I get information out of him, I start torturing him because I feel like it.
Alex, and then, I'm a little concerned about you here, buddy.
And then he's oh, let me live, I've learned my lesson. And I'm just no. And I kill him.
So what we've learned about the way you play The Witcher is you are a phenomenal negotiator, you are a mass murderer, and you are a judge, jury, and executioner.
Yeah, pretty much. No, I find myself really role-playing. Because you're unlike Skyrim or something where you're a silent protagonist, Geralt is a personality. You're playing as a character, and I find it easier, actually, surprisingly, to infuse my kind of role playing sense. Whereas Skyrim, I felt more as I'm playing as myself. Here, I'm shaping the character of Geralt, and so one of the things about Witchers in this lore, which I'm learning, is that Witchers, these monster hunters, they're trained, they take rituals to make them kind of superhumanly strong and stuff. They're they're a social caste. People don't really like them. But their policy is they don't do anything without being paid. They're very much people for hire, and they're supposed to, through the training and the rituals they go through, not really have conventional human morality. And so for me, I'm as long as it's not completely evil, if I'm getting paid, I'm doing it. So I'll just be people be please, help me, my fields got destroyed by a wyvern. And I'm I'll help. How much you gonna pay? It's I've lost everything. I'm how much you gonna pay? There's one. Oh man, I'm going on a side quest here. But some kid's family were killed by a cockatrice, and I went and I tracked down the cockatrice and I killed the cockatrice, and I got some this guy offered me a reward for it because you have to, and he was oh, thank you so much for helping me. And he's like, here's the gold I promised you. And there's like an option like take it or like say, I'll save it for the kid because, you know, he's like orphaned now.
Right.
And I was like, thank you very much. And I just walked up with the gold.
You are a huge jerk.
I'm
huge
a
jerk.
witcher, man. I'm not going to do anything for one person hears I killed a cockatrice for free. The whole world's going to start killing me. Kill this troll for free. Kill this noon wraith for free. I've got a drowner problem. You want to do that because, like, they're hurting my business. No, man. You got to pay me.
That was, I don't want to applaud because that might hurt the ears of our listeners, but I gotta praise that. That was amazing, man. You're right. You know what? You are role playing here, and that's beautiful to see.
Oh, man. I'm also a dog. All the women I flirt with, it's great.
Well, so I guess you are, branching out from your own real life. You're trying to do things in games that you could never do in the real world.
Fully monogamous here. So I've been loving The Witcher 3.
Don't sound so excited.
I know. It's very exciting, man. I could not be happier. But I'm loving The Witcher 3. I'm playing a lot. This is a game that, oh god, there's so much freaking content in it. And there's one last thing, like, there's a lot of content in this game, and the content is meaningful and interesting, because the experience system in The Witcher 3 is not like conventional games. Like, in other games, you I'm too weak. I'm gonna go kill 15 pigs, and then I'll have enough experience to move to the next level. All your experience in this game is based upon completing objectives. So, advancing story quests, doing side quests, discovering, new locations.
So no grinding.
Locations. So there's no grinding. No.
So I would
all
be
your experience is
terrible at
done
this
by
game.
doing stuff. Yeah.
As an all-pro grinder.
No, but it just rewards you for doing the great content that they have designed. Like, you're going to level up, but just by doing these quests. So, it's awesome. Like, no other game would have that, because, like, they're not going to have enough content for you to, like, level up in, like, a controlled pace by having, like, you just do the missions that the game has to offer. So, it's really, truly exceptional. I'm surprised by how much I like it. I'm probably going to keep talking about it on the podcast, but this was like the meat of it, because I'm like, a week and a half into it now.
Very cool.
Probably somewhere between 20 and 30 hours in, and I feel like I have a good grasp of what the game is. I'm not going to review it till I actually beat it, so who knows when the heck that's going to be, but it'll be done by the time we're talking Game of the Year, and certainly it's one of the best, if not the best, which is crazy because Bloodborne came out this year.
Oh man, any game that can make you question whether a Souls game is Game of the Year is a big deal.
Yeah. So I guess I could say this now since we got some other stuff to talk about. But I've been playing some Galaxy as well. I wanted to have a shout out to DLC Podcast with Jeff Kanata and Christian Spicer. It's one of my favorite video game podcasts. It's hosted on 5x5 DLC Network. Please, everyone should check it out. If you listen to it, you can see I've obviously drawn some inspiration from the podcast. I think they do a great job. But they were giving away, Jeff Kanata on his Twitter was giving away some codes for Galaxy, a game I was really interested in, and I managed to snag one, which is remarkable, because those things go, like, in seconds. So I got a free copy of Galaxy,
Awesome.
which is awesome. It's, I won myself $20. Just started playing, but I think, Fliss, this might be a game for you, too. I know it's very tough as nails, so maybe not. But
I see that. I see what
everything about it is about 80s mech anime.
Oh my gosh, I'm there.
Like, the pause menu looks like you're pausing an old VHS. You're flying around in a ship, and you're killing a bunch of these mechs, and you have, like, the little people's, like, old Macross, where people's faces show up in, like, a little corner bubble when they're, like, getting shot at and stuff. Yeah. So, it's looking to be good. Tentatively, I'm going to stream it, because it's a roguelike, and it's fun to stream roguelikes. I like to stream roguelikes, like Spelunky. So,
and what's that on?
Keep an eye on our
What's
YouTube page. PS4.
Oh, awesome. Great. Yeah, I'll definitely check that out.
So, it's great. I haven't played enough to, like, recommend it wholeheartedly yet, because it is very tough, and I've died a couple times, like a roguelike, so it resets your progress, but I'm really enjoying it. I got it for free, too, so shout out to DLC, Christian Spicer, and Jeff Kanata. So, that's a lot of video game talk. Well. Let's finish it up with some odds and ends in a section we call errata. This is movies, life, TV, etc. Fliss. Gotta go to you first. You have something in this errata section we gotta talk about.
Oh man, well hey, my trip to Tokyo featured a real highlight for me, something that I cannot do out in the middle of rural Japan where I live, which is go see a movie in 3D in English, and I saw Jurassic World.
Woo! What'd you think?
I'm gonna be completely honest with you, Alex.
Oh.
and I don't want to upset you.
Okay.
I really, really, really like that movie.
Oh, yeah! Yeah, be going there.
Oh, man. It was so much fun. Oh, dude, it was great. Like, it made a lot of mistakes. It had so many plot holes. It was very, very white, but I walk into a Jurassic Park movie, any film in the Jurassic Park franchise, and really I'm going there to watch people get eaten by dinosaurs. And this movie delivered people getting eaten by dinosaurs.
But did it in an interesting way, in an interesting context.
And with a plot that kept me awake.
Yeah, like the Jurassic World itself is like a cool direction for the franchise to take. Like, obviously, with the proper precautions, you could make a functioning dinosaur theme park. Like, there's no reason you couldn't.
Yeah, and I like that, there's kind of this vague commentary that's continued since the original movie, right? That it's not the precautions that fail, it's the people that fail.
Yeah, man. And Chris Pratt, he's a freaking movie star, man.
Dude, he's such a boss. And I like that, a lot of
God
people are
dang
complaining that, like, Chris Pratt plays Chris Pratt, but, like, I think that he played a very different character in this movie than he does in, say, Parks and Rec.
Yeah, I mean, he's similar, I guess, to his Guardians of the Galaxy character, but they're not, like, completely the same
Yeah, but
either.
you know what this movie really reminded me of? Is, like, an 80s action movie. Like, this movie had, like, your, kind of rugged and dirty male hero, like, going out to, like, save a woman who, like, also has kids, but they're, like, tangentially related to her, so she's still totally available.
Yeah, there was some weird, like, 70s era kind of sexist-y kind of stuff, but I didn't think it was too bad. I really didn't.
I mean,
like,
she had the most impressive moment of the movie when she outran a T-Rex while wearing heels.
she did, in fact, outrun a T-Rex in heels.
I just want to say that, like, that's not a physical feat I could accomplish. So,
yeah, I mean,
way to go.
Yeah.
That's super
The conclusion
impressive.
was the only thing for me that kind of got me eye-rolling, like, a little too much, but...
Oh, man, see, I disagree with you. We're spoilers here, but, like, no, man, this movie was great. It was just, like, so in Jurassic Park, the original, we saw that you liked the T-Rex. And we took that a little too far in Jurassic Park 2. We also saw that you liked velociraptors. And we took that a little too far in Jurassic Park 3. But then they were just like, what would be great? If we created a super mega T-Rex velociraptor hybrid and then had the T-Rex and the velociraptors fight it. And I was just like, this is the Pacific Rim of dinosaurs. This is great. This is really everything I want. Of course I want a raptor jumping up on a T-Rex's back to kill a giant hybrid evil
so goofy.
Rex. Yes. Give me more. That's what I want.
Oh, yeah. So, I'm glad you liked it, man. I mean, certainly I think it's not on the same level as something of a Mad Max Fury Road, but it's still super poppy, super popcorn, fun.
That's exactly
80s
it.
action
That's exactly what my brother and I said, is that this is a fun movie, and that there's this space between a good movie and between a good bad movie. And in that space exists a fun movie. And this was just a fun movie.
And I think it differs from something like an Ant-Man, which I think is also fun, but I think is very standard and poorly executed and boring and, kind of trite at this point. Whereas I think Jurassic World there's a lot that they do very well. It just doesn't reach cinematic heights, but that's fine because it's also fun. Like, it's not like a bad movie. Well, it's bad, but it's fun. No, like, Jurassic World is not a bad movie at all.
No, and I think
they do a lot
most
right.
impressively for me, especially someone who's, like, constantly thinking about movies, likes analyzing movies, likes seeing what movies are doing and kind of looking at the structure outside of the film, Jurassic World succeeded in making me just stop and relax and just be in the movie and just be amazed by the movie for a while and feel a sense of awe, which is not something I felt in a very, very long time.
Yeah. So speaking of movies, I'll just do my errata quickly. Just yesterday, they released the Weinberg Company, or Weinberg Studio, released a teaser trailer for The Hateful Eight, which is Quentin Tarantino's new movie. It looks awesome. It looks like one of those kind of set piece things that you do, like one of those famous kind of stage productions where you have a bunch of characters trapped on one set. And it's all about character interactions and character drama. I really am. I don't know why, but I'm very attracted to those. Like the one staging, like theater productions. I think that's really cool. And so I'd love to see Quentin Tarantino's take on that. I mean, he's done it before with like a Reservoir Dogs, but I think here it looks really interesting. So I'm going to watch anything Quentin Tarantino makes, though, because I really like his work.
Yeah, man. I'm
recommend.
not going to watch the trailer, but I'm probably going to go watch the movie. So
Nice. And then I have a recommendation for you all on the TV front. Justine and I were looking for TV shows, just kind of looking up by top rated, because we had heard a lot of good things about Mr. Robot, which is this show on the USA Network. We still haven't watched that. It does get really good reviews, though, so I think we're going to check it out eventually. But we saw a TV show came out that was rated super highly called Catastrophe. So this is an Amazon Prime exclusive show. It's 6 episodes long.
Wow.
And it's great.
Only 6 episodes?
It's only 6 episodes long. Fliss, I think it's right up your alley. This is romantic comedy that works when it avoids conventions or does unexpected and interesting things with the conventions of romantic comedy, where there's really palpable, tangible, relatable chemistry between the leads, and where, they don't overstay their welcome at all. So any of the kind of cliche tropes they do, they have a unique spin on it. The acting is great. The chemistry is great. The writing is really funny. It's a super funny show. It's darker than most romantic comedies because it's about an older couple. This isn't any spoilers, but it's about an older couple. So they face different challenges than, per se, a younger couple. And honestly, it's 6, 25-minute episode long things, so it's really worth your time.
Oh, man, you're going to make me stay up after the podcast and watch episode 1. You're getting me hyped here.
I really recommend it. I mean, maybe you might not like it, but Fliss, I know the folks don't know this, but Fliss is a sap. He'll watch any romantic comedy movie.
I will not watch any romantic comedy. I will watch most romantic comedies.
He likes the bad ones, too.
Whoa. Like what?
What is that, 27 Dresses or whatever? The one that's James Marsden?
I did enjoy that film.
Yeah, exactly. That movie is trash.
It is, but see, I freely admit that was total trash. I just enjoyed it.
The Benny and the Jets scene
is still hilarious.
It wasn't supposed to be hilarious.
Yeah, but that doesn't matter. I mean, what's a romantic comedy that you like, Alex?
Catastrophe.
Wah.
10 Things I Hate About You. Yeah, that's a pretty good one.
I didn't like that one at all.
Really?
Yeah. It didn't do it for me. Why not just go actually watch some Shakespeare?
Cause Shakespeare sucks. No, I'm just kidding.
Whoa. Well, and now I don't even know where to go with that. That's just such a mind-bogglingly asinine thing to say.
No, but it seems like, at least, and we can wrap this up here, but romantic comedies are for you like horror movies are for me.
Right.
You really enjoy the good ones, but the bad ones you can laugh at and appreciate how tropey and terrible they are. Whereas that's the same for me. Like good horror movies, I can really appreciate them and really get scared and spooked. But the bad ones, I can laugh at how bad and tropey they are.
Well, that's a very flattering and good way to put it. So thank you, man.
All right, so take us out. We're going to the concluding.
All right, well, hey everybody, thanks for hanging out with us. It's been a lot of fun. Obviously, I'm a little bit tired here from.
Really? I couldn't tell by the inflection in your voice.
Oh, I'm working on it, but I've been vacationing hard, traveling all over Japan. I've been taking lots of photos. My blog, Fliss of the North Star, is currently on hiatus until September, when I'll actually stop vacationing and have time to write. But I promise there's going to be a ton of great stuff, because I just have spending the whole month building up things to post about. So wouldn't be an episode of The Impact Factor if we didn't say, please be excited.
Please be excited.
And in the meantime,
nice.
I'm dropping photos on Twitter. I'm dropping posts about where I am on Twitter. You can follow me at the CFliss, at THECFLISS. So keep up with me. Get a first look at photos that will eventually be on the blog.
Nice. Get that inside peek. Everyone wants that early release information. I'm looking forward to when there is new Fliss of the North Star stuff. It's good stuff there. Infrequent, but good stuff.
Well, I'm going to have a lot to write about, so hopefully we can get it on a more regular schedule.
Why my podcast co-host bullies me. Sick of your first post.
The man that I call my friend, and how he destroys my life.
Yeah, right. Oh, man. So thank you, everyone, for spending some time with us. There's a couple core listeners. You know who you are. Thank you so much. Please do us a solid. If you're hearing this now, chances are you found it on our SoundCloud, which is soundcloud.com/theimpactfactor. Please reblog and favorite the stuff there. It helps get viewer count up. So please look us up on the iTunes store and subscribe there to get direct downloads of the episode each week. So rating us there and writing reviews does a lot for us. So speaking of that, this is our first ever and our brand new concluding segment, Reviews from the iTunes Store.
Lay it on me.
All right, so we got an iTunes review.
Oh, man.
All right, so we have a review from iTunes user Kitty Bus, which is a great name, by the way.
Kitty Bus that's nice. Is that just like a mini cat bus?
I don't know, like a bus full of cats or a bus made out of a cat?
No, but like you think about the cat bus from Totoro. Is this just like a small kitty bus?
Smaller one?
Yeah.
I don't know, but it's a great username.
Yeah, very nice.
The user wrote that this podcast provides a fresh outlook on the video games industry today. Thoughtful and literary discussions abound, consistent, decent quality, and they keep a good schedule. One of the highlights of my week. So thank you, Kitty Bus, for reviewing us on iTunes.
And thank you for such wonderful, kind words.
I know, it's really kind of flattering.
I feel so good. Like, ooh.
So if you want your iTunes review read, leave us one, because we're going to read all of them, because there's only 3 right now, and this is one of the 3. So please write us a review. Thank you so much for listening and reading and rating us and writing a review, Kitty Bus. We appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And so for an archive of our old episodes, you can check us out on YouTube by searching the Impact Factor video games or checking the link in the description. The Impact Factor is an extension of my blog about video games, the impactfactor.blogspot.com. Check there every Tuesday for a new review or article. This week I wrote about how item degradation systems are degrading on my nerves. Yeah, I'm proud of that title.
3 dolphins jump, 2 hit the land, 1 hits the water.
But I wrote about how the item degradation system in The Witcher spurred this discussion in me, how I think in RPGs at least, weapon and armor degradation is a completely unnecessary and tedious system that should be removed and not included. So I'm not one to nitpick or be negative, but I think I have some cool stuff to say. So I also have a special perspectives piece that came up on Wednesday, which talks about Everybody's Gone to the Rapture, hidden run buttons, and why video game reviewers need more time. Just a perspective piece where I kind of, wax and wane about the different issues, about how kind of goofy and kind of crazy this whole, I don't know, you don't want to call it a scandal, but how ludicrous it is that this hidden run button is, shaped the game's reviews. So check that out as well.
And anything about games media, of course, is a hot button issue, and Alex brings a lot to the table in what he says. So I highly recommend his perspectives piece here. I always enjoy perspectives on the Impact Factor, so he does bring a lot of good things there, and I think it'll make you think, if nothing else.
Thank you, man. And then check there every Friday for my curation of the best written pieces from around the world of gaming in a section called News and Views. So send any comments and suggestions for the podcast to impactfactorpodcast@gmail.com. Follow me on Twitter at Alex Samocha. That's Alex S.A. Mocha, like the coffee. Until next time, make an impact.